exacto el jingle de las monedas, su desliz de una a una en el coin slot de salida. The toll booth cuando regreses. Ojalá el pavimento de hairline fractures que lo quiebran, the feet que cantan stomp thump thump sobre ellas, the feet that go down cuando van al sur, aquí en sentido común y traffic jams en la calle donde mi ciudad esquive, donde mi ciudad recibe as name, un apellido. Ojalá las fechas que festejamos, ojalá los países que llamamos hermanos, ojalá las everyday rutinas, el primer shift desde las 5 hasta 8 hours después, el PM con tetas y guts, los nocturnos desde el I didn't get any sleep hasta el ya para quién le importa si despierto. Ojalá los insectos de desierto, the unbearable, intocables, carroñeros interminables, unnameable insectos de desierto. Ojalá el buchón con gabardina, ojalá the horse trae perros y ojalá the hollow sunken heat que derrite concreto. Y the middle of the road sparrow cold que de vez en cuando taladra huesos. Ojalá todos were alive and better.
I live in El Paso, Texas, located on the U.S.-Mexico border. Recently, El Paso Mayor John Cook has regretfully announced to El Pasoans, it truly is no longer safe to visit. Juarez, my sister city across the border, has been facing a major crisis the last few years. As I ventured throughout the city, I saw life happening as it always did, busy and vibrant.
The heart of Juarez.
The heart?
Yeah,
The heart of Juarez.
there is the Mission of Guadalupe. Many people from the city came here and relax or just sit
Conversar.
There.
Sure, I could read in the news what was happening to my friends in Juarez, but instead I went there to talk to a few people who are living and working there.
¿Cómo se llama?
Jennifer.
Jenny.
Jennifer. ¿Y usted?
José.
José, mucho gusto.
Flores.
Flores, José Flores. Rudio.
Predicando.
Sí.
There's no way to not be affected by what goes on. It's just a matter of whether you're like directly and literally affected by somebody close to you getting murdered or being kidnapped or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. Now most students have been either witnesses or victims in some way or another to some kind of violent act in the last 3 years. But then again, most people in Juarez have been that too, and of course that will affect you, you know. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you hear gunshots, the first time you hear gunshots, like real gunshots, you probably won't forget it, and it's gonna be kind of traumatic.
Oh yes, my friend Waka Waffles, he's writing a book about the history of street art in Juarez. So we're helping him, and my wife is writing an investigation about how art influences over social issues, politically and culturally. So we're going to stop at Waka's place so we can talk more about their projects, and so you can meet them also. This corner, right at this corner, there's a military post.
Oh, okay.
So it's really disturbing for us because there was a time when they stopped us, even though they see us leaving the school. It was really absurd because they checked like 2 or 3 times in a period of, I don't know, 1 block. They checked us 2 or 3 times. I really don't trust them, and I think they're the bad guys.
The visual arts program is very open and very free as far as subject matters, and the subjects that the students want to touch upon are just what they want to touch upon. And no, most of them, has been my experience at least, that most of them are not even touching the subject of violence. There's always a few, but in general terms, it is not actively pursued. Now, there's a tons of reasons why it's not, you know, or why that can be, why they wouldn't. But really, I guess the main one is it's really hard to deal with it in your real life, and then when you go and work on what you love to work on, whether it's video or painting or sculpture or whatever, to once again engage that sense of insecurity can at times be very, very depressing, you know. So that may be one point of it, why they wouldn't touch it. Or it could be that they're just learning to deal with it, and they don't see it as a bigger deal than rising gas prices, you know. So maybe they just see it as another circumstance with which they must deal, and don't really think about it too much. Yeah, and that's always an amazing trait, I guess, of human beings. We will always try to continue with our normal everyday life, you know. We will tend towards creating normalcy and towards living in normalcy, you know.
2 years since we painted the murals at the Centro Cultural Paso del Norte. We'll take you there in a minute.
Great.
He's Samuel. Samuel, saluda.
Samuel.
Hola.
Hola. Buenas tardes.
She's my wife, Ana.
Mucho gusto. Ana.
Mucho gusto. Ana.
Jennifer.
Va a ser de la Universidad de Música, creo. Pues son 100 metros de mural histórico. Lo llamamos cronología subterránea de Ciudad Juárez. David Dorado Romo fue quien nos asesoró en cuanto al contenido histórico. Son 10 periodos en la historia. Es de un artista que se llama Elpidio, y él trabajó una panorámica de la ciudad donde representa varias problemáticas sociales. Tiene mucho detalle. Pues René ayudó en este, ¿verdad?
Estuvimos.
Even though there's a lot of people coming from a lot of places, but if they live here, they should care about our problems, our social issues. So we started as a campaña de identidad, identity campaign. At first I didn't want to accept what was going on, you know. I always said, no, there's a lot of good stuff happening here in our city. I try to make the other people look at the good stuff happening here, but it's sad because bad stuff is really está opacándonos. It's covering all the good stuff. There's a lot of businesses closing, most of all at downtown. There's a lot of restaurants and bars closing because of the
Less people.
the violence.
The
yeah.
violence.
La ciudad se ve muerta. I used to live near downtown, and we used to go to the Juarez Street, and it really changed in a few months.
Music is important to our culture here in this area because it's a part of, apart from self-expression and entertainment, it's like it's our voice. We have lost a lot. Like there's a big loss when they close, when they make it so difficult to visit each other because we're like family, you know.
Just pass and not pay?
And I wouldn't pay.
As we drove to Edgar Rascon's house to have band practice with La Caravana, Amalia's Juarez band, I realized how hard it must be for musicians to really thrive nowadays. The Juarez economy has decreased. Less and less people are going out and spending money because of the fear. Yet there I was, driving to band practice.
La verdad, México y aquí en Juárez te lo puedo decir porque aquí vivo yo y nos damos cuenta de muchas cosas. La verdad no matan a cualquiera en Juárez, a las personas que son trabajadoras, que son estudiantes, no es nada más porque las maten porque sí, sino a lo mejor les toca estar en un lugar que no deberían de estar. Matan a las personas que deben de matar, que andan involucradas en el narcotráfico, pero no a las personas que realmente se dedican a bien, a vivir su vida.
Entonces pues puede pasar de que, como ahorita, ¿no? Tú estás aquí en Juárez y ahorita salimos aquí a despedirte, ay, nos vemos y todo. Entonces supones que no es así, ¿verdad? Porque vengan a matar a la persona de enfrente y si hay una bala perdida y te toca, o sea, ¿sabes cómo? O sea, eres inocente, pero fue una bala perdida, o sea, no quiere decir que en Juárez entras y, vamos a matarlo, o sea.
Your band in Juarez, how are your bandmates dealing with the situation?
Well, they just keep on trucking. They play with different bands. They play with La Caravana. They play different ensembles. Just a lot of different things to make ends meet. Because most of them, they just depend on music. So it's really difficult right now.
Muchos restaurantes cerraron por miedo a la extorsión o que les caigan por la cuota u otros por, pues quebronos, a la gente ya no sale. Mucha de la gente que pues gastaba en salir pues se fue al Paso, ¿no? O se fue a la ciudad, simplemente pues no salen porque pues como han ido cerrando muchos negocios pues la gente se queda sin trabajo y ya estar saliendo a la vez ya es hasta un lujo para alguna gente. Y pues se cerraron los foros, ya no van a tocar, ya en algunos bares no contratan porque pues no sale la nómina como para pagar música en vivo. Se pasó hace todo gacho ese rollo.
La vez que tocamos aquí en Juárez, que fue la primera vez que toqué con ellos en Juárez y la única vez, había sido la semana después del masacre, ¿verdad? De los niños acá, de los 15 niños, y así como que nadie quiso salir ese fin de semana porque casi la mayoría de la gente que viene son acá chavos menores de edad y todo el pedo de todas edades, y pues la neta casi no llegó nadie, nomás varias gente.
It'd be kind of cool if what we're going through is just like the middle part of a very long epic movie where everything seems to be going to hell. The cool thing about that is that eventually there's going to be an ending, right? And a happy ending and an epic sort of ending. So I started to think about it in those terms, and that seemed to be the way that I could actually approach the whole subject without being well, in a manner that I was comfortable with.
In the whole world, they're turning their heads to see our city as the most violent place in the world, and it's really sad because our city wasn't like that. I grew up here. I'm 35 years old, and my city is not even the shade that what used to be. So it's really sad because my son is growing here and I don't know what to expect of my city. You know, I want the best things for him, and I believe what I can start doing is by show him the reality, you know, our social reality, and make him socially conscious about our city.
Now, is there fear to say if you see a murder in the street, stop and give aid to the person being murdered? Sure. You know, is there fear to call the police and say, I just saw this murder and I can give you this information about the murder that happened? Sure, there's fear about that. And sure, there should be fear about that, you know? I mean, I'd be afraid of doing that.
We had one experience with the Federales. We arrived from the movies at our place, and when we stopped, in that second, like 3 trucks from the Federales stopped, but really fast, no? Like, nos cubrieron, nos cerraron. And then I went outside and asked my wife, what happened? And she said, I don't know, they just stopped here and pointed at us with the guns.
They pointed?
Yeah, they pointed. They didn't ask anything, they didn't saw anything suspicious, they just saw us parking in front of our house and with our kid, with our son. I really got mad and said, hey, what the hell is happening here, no? What's the problem? And they say, what you doing here? We're just arriving from the movies. What's wrong with that? And one military guy looked inside and said, oh, no. They have a baby. And then they just jumped back in their trucks and...
As I left Juarez, I realized that I wanted to go back. I wanted to go back again and again. It was like a relationship that I didn't want to let go. I thought about the people I had seen and spoken to. I thought about the children I saw playing and going to school. Everyone I had spoken to said the same thing. They didn't have a solution, but we all agreed we have one thing in common: our voices. As I spoke to my friends about their experiences living in Juarez, we kept on referring to the unsolved murders of women that had been happening for about 17 years now. This, coined femicide, the murder of women only because of their gender, has been a constant problem in Ciudad Juarez. I spoke to a woman who requested that I do not capture her face for privacy reasons. Her sister had been murdered in Juarez about a year ago. I also interviewed another woman who wrote her thesis on the femicides in Juarez. Together, these stories portray the injustices the people of Juarez had been enduring before the drug war started.
Nunca estuvimos preparados como una persona que está enferma en el hospital o que nos dice no sabemos si se va a salvar o algo, y tu mente está preparada para lo que venga.
Well, in the past 2 years, the amount of people that have been murdered in Juarez are toppling over 4,000. But the years that I focus on, and many theorists who use the term femicide focus on, is between the years 1993 and 2006. And in those years, they estimate around 400 to 500 women bodies found and 1,000 missing. I think Ciudad Juarez, Tijuana, Matamoras all have, statistically, floating populations, maquiladores, and drug trafficking. Mm-hmm. But out of all those cities that are our border towns, it's only Ciudad Juarez that was suffering as much in the sense of femicide occurring. And so, it's Juarez is a specific, there's something specific going on there.
Pero de esa forma no estamos conformes de esa forma, que nos quiten un familiar, un hermano, un ser querido.
They were really focused on, dark young women with long brown hair between the ages of 14 and 26. So there was a lot of talk about serial killers involved. The FBI was invited to help investigate, in 1998, but they were quickly told to leave by the Mexican authorities.
Es un dolor muy grande, tanto como para los hermanos y pues no se diga para mi mamá, perder una hija, quitarle una hija y era la más chiquita. Estaba trabajando muy a gusto, andaba muy contenta porque había agarrado trabajo en una compañía y ese día que pasó, que no la mataron, traía hasta su uniforme del trabajo.
The creation of NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, where they brought hundreds of maquiladores to Juarez, and they mostly were employed by women. They were low-waged, no rights, and theorists also say that the violence was spurred by the maquiladores because many of the men felt that the women's roles were changing from the home to outside the home.
Y todavía aún así no entendemos la razón, una trabajadora y todavía quitarle la vida, tanto que sufrió para agarrar trabajo y no más para eso. Sus hijos han sufrido mucho. Quitarle su mamá. La niña más chiquita de 8 años le dice a mi mamá que ¿por qué ella le tuvieron que quitar a su mamá si todavía la necesitaba? Yo todavía estoy chiquita, abuelita, para que me quitaran a mi mamá. ¿Por qué? Pues uno tiene que explicarle a sus abuelitos, tratar de explicarle las cosas, pero en realidad en sí ella no se le explicó completamente todo.
January of 2009, I went to Ciudad Juarez with one of my Harvard professors, and there we spoke to a handful of women that are deeply involved in social justice and community building. By creating their own women's shelters, by creating schools, by creating safe places for women and their children and their families. And all these women live in fear. There wasn't one interview that we did where the women weren't looking over their shoulder, concerned about a death threat.
Y la mamá de ella, mi mamá, ha sufrido mucho las consecuencias de la pérdida de su hija, la más chiquita. Estaba viviendo con ella en la tienda, siempre andaban en las tiendas, la llevaba al peinador, le gustaba ver a mi mamá guapa, le decía, ya necesitas pintarte el pelo, mamá la andaba poniendo bien guapa, andaba al tanto de ella. Nos gustaba pasar las navidades cada año allá a su casa porque se hacían pura risa con ella. Ahora desde que pasó eso, pues ya Juárez ya no podemos ir, no nos da miedo, ya no hay nada bonito para nosotros allá. Aparte del peligro que hay, pues ya no podemos ir a visitar a mi hermana, pues ya no está. Todos esos recuerdos todo eso se perdió, esas alegrías.
Part of the remedy in looking at this situation of femicide was to change the mindsets of people and to rethinking what it means to be a woman and rethinking the history, how it has contorted our social reality. Because women are killed all over the world, but in Ciudad Juarez it was hard for people to care, the government specifically, and so to live in a situation where a majority of people in power just do not care, that needed to be tackled, and I think it's a mindset that needs to be tackled.
No se ha aceptado de la manera en que les quitan la vida a nuestros hermanos o a la familia. Tenemos derecho, todos tienen derecho de vivir su vida, disfrutar sus familias, disfrutar su trabajo, disfrutar la vida.
In my research, as someone who was studying religion, indigenous spirituality specifically, I uplifted La Llorona as a figure who was an indigenous goddess, Xihualcoatl, and has been mutilated and contorted into this shawled, veiled grotesque woman, and I uplift the fact that she does not stop screaming, she does not stop crying, she never is silent, and I walk away from my research of her knowing that it's the silence that kills. In order for us to change the reality, we cannot keep silent.
Nadie tiene derecho de quitarles la vida así. Nadie. Y nadie lo va. Nadie estamos de acuerdo, ni hemos aceptado, ni lo vamos a aceptar nunca. Sabemos que sucedió, pero en el fondo nunca nadie lo vamos a poder aceptar. Así no.
Because it's about changing mindsets. It's about reminding the people that we are human faces that deserve a name, that deserve a voice. And I think that's where we need to begin.
As the violence has been increasing, our communities have been diverging. They're just dividing more and more. And I feel that it's creating a sense of like the other, like, oh, they do this and they do that and they're involved with this, and we forget that we're part of it, and that just because there's a wall doesn't mean that we're not involved or that it's not our problem, because this is a zone where we all live together.
We are a community. We are a single community, and whether there's a big fence or a big bridge dividing us doesn't make us any less part of your community than if there weren't.
We've been resistant here, and I plan to stay here. But it's hard. Now with my family, it's really hard.
With oppression comes music. Like it's not gonna stop. It'll just change the way the music is coming out. Music is an escape. I mean, it's a way to express things, and there's no way to keep a person from expressing what they want to say. And I think music is sound, and sound can go through many things.
What does this mean, volver a la patria?
It's coming back to our country,
¿Cuál?
And they question
Which
land,
what land?
which country, what land.
Do not dehumanize the murdered people would be so important, and every murder is just reported as a drug-related murder. Well, I think that every single one of us as citizens should always be reminded that no, they're not. They're not drug-related murders. They're life-related murders, because there's a life that's ended at that point, in that moment, and there have been thousands of lives ended in that point, in those terms.
Ojalá nuestros dances never get in the way of las balas que in the drift bailan, las stray balas perdidas y shiven illegal y percutidas balas. Ojalá las abuelas no nos echen de menos. Ojalá nuestros carros never end up all trashed up, all hold up, all bloodied up, all torn down en una random y congestionada esquina. Ojalá las calles could speak y revelaran names y faces. Ojalá my rearview mirror could scream y arruinar el suspenso, me dijera what, when and where, so I could duck, so I could speed up, so I could break, get out and run away, para quedarme en casa y nunca jamás volver a salir otra vez. Ojalá black leather jackets, ojalá stylish custom made sunglasses, ojalá himnos de valor humano que try